Hello, today's lesson is 2-5. The title of the lesson is Rounding. Today you'll learn how to round a number to tell about how much or how many. Think about how to find a number that tells about how much or how many. Imagine you have 27 stickers. What round number, for example 10, 20, or 30, is closest to 27? We knew that 27 was pretty close to 30. Then we looked at the back of our morning math that had this worksheet on it, and we asked ourselves, where does 27 go on the number line? Which round number is closest to it? 27 rounds up to 30 because that's the closest number. I should say the closest round number. We looked at the number line and talked about how you can use a number line to round by finding the halfway number. Halfway between the 390 and 400 is the number 395. So if you were asked to round 394 to the closest 10, you would choose between 390 and 390 and 400. 394 is closer to 390, so it rounds down to 390. But at the bottom of the screen you can see that sometimes we were rounding to the nearest 10 and sometimes we were rounding to the nearest 100. So it's a tricky thing to try to do both. We talked about numbers that round to 200 when they're rounded to the nearest 100. So anything from 150, because the rule is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 round up. Anything from 150 to 249 would round to 200 when they're rounded to the nearest 100. How about this one? Miss Knerk's class asked 427 questions in one day. What is 427 rounded to the nearest 100? It would be 400. Since we're rounding to the nearest 100, we need to move to the digit to the right of the hundreds place to find out if we round up or down. And looking at the 2, I know that that's less than 5, so it would round to 400, not up to 500. How about this one? To the nearest 100, a new quad costs $900, which could not be the actual price of the quad. Pause the video if you need to think about it. The only one that would not round to 900 would be 955. It's just a little bit too big to round to 900. So I thought that a better way to understand rounding would be to look at place value instead of number lines. We don't always have number lines in front of us. We don't want to take the time to draw number lines when we're rounding. So what the book says is find the digit in the rounding place. So if we're rounding to the hundreds, we would look at the digit in the hundreds place. And in my class we circled that digit in the rounding place. Then we looked at the next digit to the right. So if you're rounding to the hundreds, you'd then look over at the tens, which is the next place to the right. If it's 5 or greater, add 1 to the rounding digit. If it's less than 5, leave the rounding digit alone. And then we always change all digits to the right of the rounding place to 0. There it is again. We talked about this way a lot. I thought that it would be easier to write it out in steps, so I wrote out 5 steps of rounding. Find the digit in the rounding place, look at the next digit to the right. If it's 5 or more, add 1 to the rounding digit. If it's less than 5, do not change the rounding digit. Change all the digits to the right of the rounding place to 0. We practiced with a few problems from the textbook today. And you can pause the video if you need to try those again. And the steps are there for you on the screen, so pause the video if you need to think about this. And that was it for today.